I was married to a murderer, and this is my story, part 1. So I'm going to take you guys back to the main beginning. About 16 years ago, I met my said ex-husband that's now serving 45 years in prison. I was 16 years old, and he was 17, I think. I was a junior in high school whenever we met, and we had been dating for about 2 or 3 months whenever I found out I was 16 and pregnant. Being a teen mom was not for the weak. It was super hard. If I had not have had family and love and support, I would have never been able to overcome that. But throughout my pregnancy, things were pretty good. He didn't go to school. It wasn't very common back then, but it is now. He was pen foster. So my parents wasn't real fond of the fact that he didn't go to school, but they wasn't fond of a whole lot of shit. So there's that. But things were pretty, I wouldn't really use the word normal because I hate to use that word, but things were pretty good in the beginning. Towards the end of my pregnancy, my parents ended up letting him move into my house at my mom's. We moved into the basement. They thought it would be easier instead of the baby traveling back and forth for us to just stay at my house. We had a baby shower. Things were great. We had a lot of love and support. Like, for me to have been 16 and pregnant, my family and friends and my mom's friends and family and his family all come together and made the best of the situation. I gave birth to my oldest daughter. I was 17, and he was in the delivery room. My mom was in the delivery room. Things were really good, like I said. A couple red flags here and there throughout my pregnancy, but nothing alarming. After we brought Zoe home, she was born on December 15th. Christmas was 10 days later. We had Christmas at my house, and we had Christmas at his family's house. After Zoe was born, I co-opted. I had her in December, so I didn't go back to school until around February. And I got to leave school at 10 or 11 o'clock, and he watched Zoe while I went to school. I co-opted here in our county. That just means you work while you're a senior, so you can leave work early. Or school. You can leave school early. This is when things started to get fishy. I would come home from school at around 11:30 and find him still in the bed. Now, most people might not think, that's a big deal. Oh, it's only 11:30, whatever. Well, he didn't have a job, and he was supposed to be watching our daughter, and there was some days I would come in, and she would be crying in the crib while he was asleep. Follow me for part 2. I was married to a murderer. Yep, you got that right. I was married to a man who is now serving 45 years in prison for murder, and this is part 2 to my story. If you haven't already, go watch part 1 so you know where we left off at, so you're not lost wondering what the hell is going on. Needless to say, this became an ongoing issue with him staying in the bed, not getting up with the baby, me going to school still, trying to get my high school diploma, up till, I don't know, sometimes 4 o'clock in the morning with the baby. After being up till 4 o'clock in the morning, then I got to get up and go to school. Once I was getting close to graduating high school, my dad finally told him, like, look, you've mooched off of me long enough. You're going to have to get out and get a damn job. And his story was always, oh, I can help my dad at his shop, pull transmissions and yada yada. Little backstory, his dad and my dad worked on transmissions at the time. Not together, they had 2 separate shops. But he didn't want to work for his dad, and he didn't want to work for my dad. Like, my dad told him, hey, come out here and work. I'll pay you half, the money. You pull the transmission, I'll build it. You put it back in. But no, he didn't want to work. He didn't want to do shit. He just wanted to lay around and be fucking lazy. Like, I hate to be bluntly honest about it, but that's just the truth of the fact. So this is when a lot of our problems started, is when I'm trying to get an education to where I can go somewhere in life, and you can't even watch our kid while I go to school for 4 hours. So at this point, my dad was like, okay, you've got to get a job, like I said. And my dad worked night shift, so he was like, I'll watch the baby until Tiffany gets home from school. I finally graduated high school in June of 2011. Super proud of myself for that. Walked across that stage holding my little baby in my arms. She was 6 months old, and I had never been so proud in that moment. What does my dumbass do after that? He don't want to get a job. He don't want to do nothing. I decide it would be this magnificent idea to marry his dumbass. Yep, you heard that right. I was married to a murderer. Yep, you got that right. I was married to a man who is now serving a 45-year prison sentence for murder. Haven't seen parts 1 and 2, go back and watch them so you know what kind of crazy mess we're about to dive into. Did I really want to marry his dumbass? Yes and no. I wanted to do what I thought was the right thing to do. So you got to think, my parents had 3 kids and they've been together for over 30 years. I mean, granted, they fuss and fight a little bit, but they had a pretty good relationship. His parents are still together. How? I don't know, but that's a time for a different story. But so I'm coming from my family being together, his family being together. I am 18 years old at the time, and I think this is the right thing to do. Looking back on it now, I know a lot of the reason that I wanted to get married was because 2 of our best friends at the time, so 2 couples, had just recently gotten married. One of them got married while I was pregnant with my oldest daughter, and the other one got married after I had the baby, and I was in her wedding. And the 6 of us were thick as thieves, so we all had a baby close to the same age, and I don't know, they were older than me, but I guess I thought, my parents have been together, his parents have been together, my best friends are getting married, and boy, was that the biggest fucking mistake of my life. Here we are, trying to wedding plan, and he is just, not into it at all. He doesn't even want to buy me a ring. I know, red flag number 50,000 at this point. But I was young, I was naive. He finally bought me some $20 ring from Walmart, and I know, money, it is what it is. Sometimes we be struggling. $20, put a ring on your finger if you love somebody. Hey, I think that's amazing. But he just wouldn't it. He didn't want to do it. But he was going to do it because he knew that he was pretty much stuck with me. And I knew that I was pretty much stuck with him. So we're planning this big, luxurious wedding. Not really, but for our little small town, it did turn out to be a cute little wedding. But while we're planning this wedding, it's just things are red flag after red flag. And I keep trying to push it into the back of my mind, it's okay, everything's going to be all right. So October rolls around, and it's the night before our wedding night. I get a message from somebody, and it's been a long time ago, so I don't remember the exact details to the message. But they pretty much told me that he had been cheating on me. What do? Oh, my man would never. It almost makes me want to gag telling the story, I swear. My man would never. That was literally the motto I had. Because I thought that the sun rose and set in this man's ass. Why? I have no idea. Put a ring on it, honey. I married him. Yep, sure did. And I will say, I think that was when he had the hook in me, but honey, he reeled that son of a bitch in. This is when shit really starts to hit the fan. Part 4. 10 days after we got married, I got into a really bad car accident with my best friend. And long story short, I had to spend a week in the hospital and extensive surgery done on my leg. And guess what? He came 2 times. Yep, my mama's my ride or die, her and my sister, but they were by my side the whole time. And no, you guessed it right, he did not take care of the baby either. When I finally got discharged from the hospital, I had to come home on a walker because I had broke my femur bone, had pins and rods and all that good stuff in there. So I had to completely learn how to walk again. I went from a walker to crutches to a cane. I spent months in physical therapy. And during this time, he was working finally, but he wasn't helping at all with the baby. At the time, I still lived at my parents' house, and they had a 2-story house. I lived in the basement. Kitchen and everything like that was upstairs. There was a living room downstairs, so thankfully I was able to just kind of hang out down there, but I had to have someone stay with me the whole time because I wasn't able to walk, so therefore I wasn't really able to tend to a crawling baby. During this time, there wasn't any physical abuse. It was more mentally abusive, but I love you, and this is why I'm telling you that, if that makes sense. So not long after Zoe's first birthday, which was in December, we decided to move into our own apartment together. Now, at the time, we only had one vehicle, and he was working at this time. So me and the baby would stay home while he worked. I was still on a cane, but I was getting around for the most part, able to care for my little girl. This is when the verbal abuse really started to happen. So everything that I did was my fault. The way I put up his laundry, the items I bought at the grocery store, the time I put the baby to bed, anything you can think of, oh, you didn't sweep and mop the floors today, even though I swept and mopped them yesterday, and there's 3 people live here and the floors are clean. I was a piece of shit. The first time he ever put his hands on me was in that apartment, and I was absolutely petrified. So this was the first time I had ever called my parents and told them about what was going on, and we only lived a couple minutes away from my parents. My dad got straight in a car and drove there and was ready to someone. Like, he was upset. So I packed my stuff and I moved back in with my mom. 98% of women who live domestic violence go back. I wish that I could have said that would have been the first time I left, but sadly I left many, many, many more times after that. So I forgave him. He called, cried, it would never happen again. I moved back in, and things were pretty good for several months. Our lease had ran out. We had signed a 6-month lease. Our lease had ran out, so we decided to buy a fixer-upper trailer and move it down by his family's house. His family was very loving and supporting, and they did help out a lot with our daughter. So that was a plus side, being close to them. But he almost had me like in his element, like an area where he felt comfortable at. So once we moved in, this is when a lot of the physical abuse started. At this point, I had left him numerous times, and the physical abuse just continued to happen. But whenever I would leave, he would threaten to kill himself if I didn't get back with him. He would burn his house down with him in it. He couldn't live without his kids. I was the best thing that ever happened to him. Like, whenever I would leave, he would praise me, and I'm the best mom ever, and I'm beautiful, and he loves me, and he don't know what he would do without me. But yet, as soon as I would go back, within a week or two, it was right back to the same trauma. And why I didn't just leave and stay gone is what a lot of people are going to ask. But you've clearly never been in love with a narcissist. When you love somebody as much as I loved that man at one point in time, you would do anything for him. Like, lay down and take a bullet for this person, the same as you would your kids. But sadly, that love wasn't 50-50. I felt that way for him, and for me, I was just a person that he could mooch off of. I had finally decided, okay, this is enough. I'm leaving. I'm taking all of my stuff, because I would only take like a small bag. I thought, okay, this is it. I'm taking all of my stuff, and I'm getting my own apartment. So family and friends come together and helped me move. I got moved into an apartment, and things were going great. It had only been a few weeks, but I had never felt so free. You got to think, I got pregnant at 16 years old, and at this time, I had a 2-year-old baby, and I had lived this traumatic life with somebody that I thought loved me, and come to find out, he never loved me. He loved abusing me. Just when I thought that I was finally free, I was late on my period. So I took a pregnancy test, and lo and behold, I was pregnant with baby number 2. Yep, you heard that right. I found out I was pregnant 3 weeks after leaving him. So what does any person do? I call him. We meet up. I tell him I'm pregnant. And the first thing out of his mouth is, oh, it's not my baby. Yeah, sir, it is. I've been with you since I was 16 years old. Just because I'm 20 doesn't mean I've been cheating around on you. I had been faithful to this man the whole time we was together, even though he walked out on me several times. During my pregnancy, the physical abuse had stopped, but the verbal abuse was still there. I was so heartbroken. Like, I love my daughter so much, but I did not want to have another child with this man. He was not a good father to my first child, so I knew he wouldn't be a good dad to my second child. But what do? I get back with him. Well, let me rephrase that. I almost had to beg him to get back with me, and I cannot even believe that I stooped to that level of low to beg a man to get back with me. But like I said, I loved this man, and I thought, I don't know, I guess I just thought I could change him. So we decided to try to work things out. At the time, he had a really close buddy that he was letting stay with him in our house. But like I said, I had moved out and got my own apartment. This all happened really quickly. But he had been coming over to my place, and things were really good. Like, after I pretty much begged him to get back with me, we decided, we'd take things really slow. I would stay at my place, he would stay at his, and we would try to mend the broken relationship that we had. We knew we was both having another baby, so we wanted to make the best of our family. One night, he wasn't texting me back, and if you know me in real life, then you know, just a little psycho. Well, I decided to go down to his house, and whenever I pulled in, there was a car there, and I thought, this is weird. But at the same time, his dad's transmission shop was in the same area that we lived in. So we lived in a single wide trailer like this, and the garage was here. So it was really nothing unusual to see other people's cars there. But that night, something just didn't sit right with me. So I get out of the car, I walk up to the door, and it was locked. I could hear people inside, but I couldn't get anyone to come to the door. Well, honey, I ain't the one that's just gonna like get back in my car and leave. So I start pounding on it a little bit harder. Well, he finally comes to the door and like slips out and shuts the door behind him. And I'm like, what's going on? Like, why did you not want to come to the door? And he was like, oh, I was asleep. I'm like, oh, okay. Well, can I come in? He said, no, I don't really think you need to come in. I said, this was my house 3 weeks ago. We're trying to work things out. You're staying at my place. I'm staying at yours, but I can't come inside. Well, y'all already know why I couldn't come inside. He had some bitch ass hoe up in there. Like I said, if you know me, you know me. So I started hollering like, come on out here, bitch. Like, come on. Because I had never been able to catch him red-handed with somebody, but I know that he had cheated on me. So she finally comes outside and I'm like a fit to be tied. I'm trying to get her to fight and she's not about it. She keeps saying, oh, you're pregnant, nah. And looking back, like that was so stupid of me to try to fight somebody over this man for one, let alone pregnant. Well, since she wouldn't fight me, a little bit more of my craziness come out. I don't carry her anymore. She stays at home, but I used to carry a softball bat in my vehicle. Her name was Sally, and she was my ride or die. She was by my side at all times. You got to think, I lived domestic violence with this man, and I had to defend myself. So I go get Sally out of the car, and I tell her she got till the time I get to 5 to be getting in her car leaving, or it'll be the biggest mistake of her life. Well, to make a long story short, she didn't leave. And when she did leave, she didn't have no headlights, no taillights, or no windshield. Thankfully, she never pressed charges on me, but she never come back either, to say the least, that I know of. Like, she thought, or she realized, one, this bitch is crazy, I'm not doing this, and she skirted. So we end up getting back together. I move in back with him into our house, trailer, whatever. And this is when more shit just continues to get worse. And like the red flags was there, and honey, I must have thought it was a circus ride because I just kept staying and kept getting on the ride. Out of all the baby appointments that you go to, he went to one appointment. Yep, you got that right, one, and it was the anatomy scan. When they done the ultrasound and told us that she was a girl, he was pissed. We had our oldest daughter with us, and he took her and went to the car and left me with the ultrasound tech in the room. Like, he was mad because it wasn't a boy. That's when he was back on the whole, it's not my baby, I'm not coming with you to the doctor, you can stay here, but I'm not raising nobody else's kid, you're a piece of shit. And then the next day, I love you, I know it's my baby, I'll come to the next appointment. The next appointment rolls around, he doesn't come. With my oldest daughter, I went into labor, but with my middle daughter, our second child, I was induced at like 39 weeks and 2 days. Well, he said that he wasn't coming to the hospital until I got further along because he wasn't staying up there all day waiting. So my mom and my sister stayed with me the whole time. And as I'm getting further along, my mom is calling him and she's like, hey, you need to get here. Like, she's in full-blown active labor and we're going to be having this baby any minute. Phone call after phone call after phone call. He never answered. My dad even went looking for him before he came up to the hospital. No one could find him. So, I mean, my body doesn't have any other reaction but then to keep going. My mom and my sister ended up being in the delivery room with me, and my mom is the one who cut her umbilical cord. And I'm just so proud that it was her and that my sister got to experience that with me because it was honestly so much more peaceful not having him there. When he finally did get to the hospital, he was pissed because he claimed that no one let him know, but yet my mom showed him where she had called him probably 75 times and left numerous voicemails, even called his parents. Once they got me moved to the postpartum unit, he held her for the first time, and that's when he confronted my mom saying that she never let him know that I was in labor, and he made my family leave the hospital. I was married to a man who's serving 45 years in prison for murder, and this is my story, part 6. Once I came home from the hospital from having my second child, the physical abuse started right back up, and this time it was way worse than it was in the beginning. I got my CNA license while I was pregnant with my second daughter so that I could have a decent job and try to support my girls because I knew that leaving was on the agenda. I just had to figure out the correct time and a way to make it happen. Every job that I would get, he would throw a fit and end up causing me to lose my job from calling in or just quitting altogether because he threw such a fit. By the time summer rolled around, I was very distant with my family just because he didn't want me to have a relationship with them. So I didn't get to see my parents a whole lot, even though we lived less than 10 minutes away. They would show up down at my house and we would spend all day together. But then as soon as they left, I would get the shit beat out of me. Now, don't think for a minute that I just let him beat the hell out of me, because, honey, I beat the hell right back out of him. This is times whenever I should have left, but I continued to think that I could change him. But we all can clearly see that I did not. Fast forward a couple months later, and I had no phone, no job, no money. I kept finding like white substances, like little powder on the bathroom counter and the kitchen counters. And I would ask him about it and he would say it was drywall dust. And I know, like, I should have immediately knew what the fuck it was, but my dumb ass was like, oh yeah, that probably makes sense. Even though we wasn't even like remodeling our house. I don't know. It wasn't until I started finding straws with the white powder that I knew what he was doing. Once he started using drugs, he was always an asshole. Like, he bitched about everything. But the physical abuse sometimes would happen, and sometimes it wouldn't happen for a couple weeks. So it was kind of getting, I don't know, a little bit better and easier to deal with, because he would rather be gone with his buddies off doing God knows what. Now, mind you, whenever he would leave and go places with his buddy, he would take the battery out of my fucking car so that I couldn't go anywhere. Yep, you heard that right. He would physically take the battery out of my car so that I could not leave the house. So, like, Lord forbid if something would have happened to one of the kids, I don't know what I would have did. Even though his family lived close by, knowing that you don't even have transportation when you have a car sitting there was just mind-boggling. And the reason he did that is because he wanted to isolate me from my family, because he knew that I was going to leave him. We both smoked at the time, and whenever he would leave me like 1 or 2 cigarettes for my allowance. And honey, if you smoke, you know 1 or 2 cigarettes for 14, 15 hours don't do shit. Like, I can remember going through the ashtray and digging out little butts that had a little bit left on them. So one day I finally said, okay, I've had enough. Mind you, I've said this 20 times at this point. I pack me a little suitcase and I go to my mom's house, and I'm not even gone for like 5 or 6 hours, and he calls me. He has himself barricaded in the bathroom with a shotgun to his neck, saying that he's going to blow his brains out if I don't take him back. My mom begged me not to go down there and talk to him, because I told him, I said, I'm not taking you back. And he was like, well, will you please come talk to me? You're the only one that makes me feel better. She begged me not to go because she knew what would happen if I did go. I would get right back with him. But what does anyone do that loves a narcissist? We give in. I go down there, and he really is in the bathroom sobbing, like hysterically. Yeah. He promises me that if I will stay with him, he'll go admit himself into the psych ward, 5th floor, whatever you want to call it. So I agree. I'm like, okay, you need some help, because he had like clearly mental illness. I said, okay, if you will promise me that you'll go sign yourself in, then I will move my stuff back in and I will take you to the hospital. He was okay with that. He was like, okay, I will pack a bag. Let's go. Now, mind you, I had left the kids at my mom's house while I went down to check on him, because, of course, I didn't want them to see something like this. So we get in the car and we're headed across the road. The hospital that we were going to was probably about 45 minutes away. Well, we passed by the church and the cemetery where he had some family members buried at, and he wanted to stop by the cemetery. So I'm like, okay, no big deal. Well, we pull in. He goes down there, sobs, cries. I give him his space, you know, thinking that, you know, we're going to be all right. I'm going to get him to the hospital and things are going to be better. Nope. He ends up beating the hell out of me, putting me in the vehicle, taking me back to the house, and telling me, either you go get our kids and you get back here, or me and you are both going to die, because I'm going to blow my brains out and blow yours out. I should have known that he was too big of a coward to actually do it. But of course, whenever your kids are on the line, I was like, okay, I will do whatever you say. I get myself presentable. I let my mom know, hey, we've worked it out. I'm coming to get the kids. She's hysterical, doesn't want to let the girls go, but she knows she doesn't really have any other option. So I pick the kids up. We come back to the house, and the next time I leave will be the last time that I ever left him. I was married to a man who is now serving 45 years in prison for murder, and this is my story, part 7. The next several months was the most traumatic events that I've ever went through my entire life, and I wouldn't wish the pain or the feeling or the trauma on anyone. Not only did the physical abuse get so much worse, but the mental abuse was beyond words of even explaining. This man mentally terrorized me, is the only word that I can use to kind of explain what happened. But he would make me stay up for like days at a time. Like, I would try to go to bed, and he would come in there and just physically and mentally abuse me. I would finally fall asleep, and he would come in and grab me by my feet and drag me out of the bed and laugh hysterically. He would come in there and turn the lights on and shoot lasers in my eyes while I was trying to sleep. He would bring Nerf guns in and shoot me in the face. This is absolutely disgusting, but he would not take a bath for several days, and he would have his ass cheeks spread apart in my face. He would tell me that I was fat, I was disgusting, my stunk, that no one would ever want me. Now, mind you, I took a fucking shower every day. This man would purposely go 5 or 6 days in a row without showering just to torture me. During this time, I was in such a fight or flight that I didn't hardly eat. I was down to like 120 pounds, and he still made me feel like I was this slob and a fat ass that no one would ever want. And he constantly reminded me of that. He would tell me, you can't leave me. No one wants a single mom with 2 kids. No one wants a stretched out vagina. Like, all this just disgusting stuff. I would take the physical abuse any day over the mental abuse that he put me through. And like I said, it would be days without me sleeping. And during the day, he would sleep, but it was almost impossible for me to sleep because I took care of 2 kids. Christmas time rolled around, and my mom had gotten my oldest daughter a little iPad. Well, I had to discreetly download Facebook Messenger onto the tablet so that I could have communication with my family. Because at this point, I knew that I was leaving. I just had to figure out how to go about doing it without this man killing me. A week before I left, we was taking the kids somewhere, and we had them loaded up in the car, and I remembered that I had forgotten my wallet inside. So I went back inside to get my wallet, and I guess it took me too long, so he came in after me. Well, whenever he got in there, he accused me of cheating on him. Mind you, I didn't even have a phone. Like I said in the previous video, whenever he left, he would take the battery out of my vehicles to where I couldn't even go anywhere. How am I going to cheat on you whenever I can't leave my house and I don't have a phone? Like, yeah, I had my daughter's iPad to where I could message my family, but I was literally so scared to even do that I would only message them whenever he was gone, and then I would delete the messages and delete the app off of the phone or the tablet. In the midst of us arguing and him thinking that I'm cheating on him, things got very physically, and he pulled out and I just knew like this was my time to go. And he put it to, I cried and I begged him just to do it. Like, I was so overwhelmed and exhausted from the mental and physical abuse that I didn't want to be here anymore. I love my daughter so much, but I didn't want them to have to see me go through that anymore. Like, I thought that was my only way out. In the midst of us fighting and arguing and beating each other's ass, I ended up making it into the master bedroom of our house. So whenever I got in there, I knew he was coming for me. So I took a really long dresser and like scooted it in front of the door to where he couldn't get the door open. And like I've said before, we lived in a single wide trailer, and our room had the tongue off of the end. So I opened the window and crawled out the window onto the tongue and took off running down the road. I don't really know where I was running to, but I guess I was just trying to get out of there. I was hoping that it would give me enough time to get somewhere, get in the woods or something, to hide long enough before he got the door open and realized that I was gone. My parents only lived a couple miles away, so I was thinking if I could hide from him, then I could come out once he was gone and I could try to make my way to my parents' house, because I knew if I could get there, I could call the police and I could be done with this whole ordeal. How he even knew what direction I ran in honestly shocks me. I don't know if like maybe one of my kids seen me go that way and he asked and they told him. And you got to think they were 5 and 2 whenever I left. So they didn't know any better and really know what was going on. Well, I mean, they knew what was going on, but they were still kids. I could hear his engine roaring coming for me. And I looked back and I seen him flying down the road. Well, he tries to run me over 2 or 3 times, and I kept darting and jumping out of the way. And then finally he stopped the truck, cried, pleaded, begged for me to get in, told me that if I would get in, he would just take me to my mom's house and we could file for a divorce. So I get in the truck, and what does he do instead? He floors it down a curvy road running 100 miles an hour. And he's looking over at me saying, I'm just going to kill us all, kill me, you, and the kids so that none of us have to live apart from each other. All kinds of crazy psychotic things. Until I finally got him calmed down enough to just go back home. This is whenever I started thinking, I have to figure out a plan to leave this man. If I don't, I'm going to leave him in a body bag. A couple of days passed by, and he's been on a major high, hasn't slept in days, barely home, and I'm like, okay, this is it. This is my time to shine. So I discreetly packed a bag. I got all my personal hygienes, all the kids' medication, and enough clothes to last 3 or 4 days after I left. Because I knew someone, the police or someone, would come and help me get my stuff. I just wanted to be gone for a few days before I came for that. I messaged my sister off of my daughter's tablet and told her, hey, I'll never forget, it was a Saturday night. My grandma cooks breakfast every Sunday. And I said, hey, pick me up for breakfast tomorrow. Me and the kids are leaving. And she said, are you sure? It had snowed. And I said, yes, I'm sure. They have the roads cleared. Don't pull in my driveway. Just stop in the middle of the road and I will run the kids out and we'll get in the car. That night rolls around and I have everything ready to go. It's hidden. I know what time she's going to be there the next day. I just have to figure out how to get the kids in the car without him knowing that we leave. Well, I'm sleeping and he comes in the room about 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning and he had tried to cut his own hair. He was blowed away. And there was like a tiny little section in the back of his head that he couldn't reach. And he wanted me to do it. And I told him, I said, nope, this will be the one and only time that I don't do something for you. You can go to the fucking barbershop and look like a moron because I'm not doing it. He slaps me in the face, calls me a bitch, so on and so forth. And within a couple hours, he is passed out on the couch. Now, mind you, he hasn't been asleep in days, but I'm absolutely terrified that he's going to wake up. So it's like 30 minutes before my sister is supposed to be there, and I have everything ready to go. I've already opened the door, put the bag on the porch. All I have to do at this point is slip shoes on the kids, and we're out the door with a jacket. Somehow, by the grace of God, I was able to get out without him waking up. And that was the last time that I ever left that house. I put up a hell of a fight, but I knew that I didn't have any fight left in me. And I had to fight for my kids at that point. The next part's whenever I'm going to get into the details of after we separated and what led him to being charged with murder. After I left him, surprisingly, he didn't really try to get back with me, which was perfect for me because I was done, like you all clearly could tell in the story. We sat down together and worked out a visitation schedule for him to see the kids, and I hired a lawyer, and we went to court and filed for a divorce. Things were decently good for the first couple months after we did separate. I had got moved into a low-income apartment. I got a job at the nursing home again. I was supporting my girls. Life was good. And then this is when he stops getting the kids. His mom would message and still want to get them, so I would let them go and spend time with her. But it finally came to a point to where I was like, why am I even forfeiting my time when they're not spending time with their dad? Like, I know they needed to spend time with their grandma, but it's really not fair for me to lose my time when the dad doesn't want to see or take care of his kids. This went back and forth for a while with him wanting the kids and then not wanting the kids. And he would find a girlfriend that would take care of the kids for him. And then once he finally realized that he wasn't going to be able to keep a girlfriend either because he was a piece of shit, is when he got really bad off on drugs. Now, during this time, I had stopped letting the kids see him. So I left him in January of 2016. My daughters had just turned 5 and 2 years old. And I stopped letting him see the kids probably in, I'm going to say like July of 2018, somewhere in there. So he's seen the kids for a little over 2 years before I went no contact with him. That December rolled around and I got paperwork in the mail where he was taking me to court fighting for full custody of my kids. Now, mind you, he hadn't seen my kids in 6 months. So I hire a lawyer, and I really don't put much thought into it because I know he can't pass a drug test. I know he's a piece of shit. And I really just knew that the Lord would be on my side and things would work out. The court date rolls around and he doesn't even show up for court. Like, he had hired a lawyer, or his mom had hired a lawyer, and she was there, but he didn't even show up for court. And I told the judge, I said, I am not agreeing to him seeing the kids. He's $15,000 behind in child support. He hasn't seen the kids in 6 months because he's so strung out on drugs. And I am requesting for a drug test. And I don't want to piss in a cup. I want a hair follicle. His lawyer tried to claim he wasn't on drugs. So the only way the judge would agree to the hair follicle test was if I had a hair follicle test done as well. Not a problem with me. I've never used drugs a day in my life. So they sent me to one location and they were sending him to a different location. And we had I think 3 or 4 hours to have the testing done. So I left court and went straight for my hair follicle test. And what do you know? He never even has his done. So when we go back to court, of course, they threw the case out because automatic fail if you don't go for the test. Now, mind you, during this time, he had no contact with me or my children. I had him blocked on all social medias. And during the time, I didn't live in the town that we live in now. I lived about 3 hours away. So, I mean, he didn't try to come hunt me down or nothing. August 25th, 2019 was one of the worst days that I will ever forget. And it'll be a day that sticks with not only me, but my children's hearts and so many people in our community forever. I received a call out of nowhere from an unknown number, but I answered the call anyways. I was at home. Now, mind you, like I said, I lived 3.5 hours away from my hometown during this time. And whenever I answered the phone call, it was DCBS. They told me that they were trying to locate my house and that it was urgent that they speak with me. So they were literally within a mile of where I lived at. So I give them the proper directions, how to get there. I have no idea what's going on. Like, I don't know if someone's reported me to DCBS or what. But whenever they pull up and they come inside, they start asking me questions about my said husband from the story time. And I start telling them, how they haven't had any contact with him, and I've got court documentation to prove this and this. Well, they want to know where the kids are at because they need to talk to the kids. Well, I inform them that, the kids are at school during the time Zoe was in the 2nd grade and Chevy was in preschool. Well, I asked what this is about. Like, why do you need to talk to the kids? What's going on? And they informed me that there is a bench warrant arrest for their biological father for assault to a minor. I was at a loss for words. I didn't even know what to say to them, let alone what to do. Well, they had to talk to my kids to make sure that my kids were okay. I kept reassuring them that my kids had been no contact with him for over the past year, but they still had to lay physical eyes on my children since the charges that he was wanted on were assault charges for a minor. When social services left my house, they left me with paperwork that awarded me full custody of the kids immediately. And now, mind you, he was still on the loose. They had a bench warrant for his arrest. And the next 24 hours before he got arrested was the most terrifying time ever. I was scared to death knowing what he was accused of, that he was going to come and just off us all. I had no idea. Less than 24 hours later, he was picked up and his charges were moved from assault to a minor to murder to a minor. He had murdered his girlfriend's 2-year-old daughter. I was married to a man who is now serving 45 years in prison for murder, and it's time to expose what kind of true monster this man is.
Michael Cody Huff will be answering to assault first-degree charges at 9 o'clock tomorrow morning here at the McCreary County Courthouse in District Court. But it's likely he's going to face more serious charges. Police were called to Somerset's Lake Cumberland Regional Hospital on Sunday.
Had a 2-year-old child that had been brought in with life-threatening injuries.
That little girl would be sent to UK hospital, and on Tuesday she died. The coroner says she is Kimber Collins, and she died of blunt force trauma. Prior to her death, police charged 27-year-old Michael Huff with assault. He was arrested on Jennings Branch Road in Whitley City. The prosecutor says a grand jury will consider a harsher charge.
In the process of arresting the defendant, putting him into custody, and all that processing, she passed away. So obviously it will be a murder charge, but at the time he was arrested, assault was the appropriate offense.
Bowling says Huff is the boyfriend of the child's mother. Police say he was watching the 2-year-old at the time.
It's times like this that it makes you want to go home and hug your children just a little bit and hold them a little bit closer to you.
You always know the who, the what, the when, the where, but there's never going to be a good why in a child homicide case. There's never going to be an acceptable reason to kill a child.
Huff is being held in the Leslie County Jail. He told the jail staff that he did not want to talk to us about the allegations.
This disgusting monster sat in county jail for 3 years until he finally pleaded guilty to the murder charges. He's now serving his time out at Green River Correction Complex in Kentucky, when we all know where this man should be serving his time out at.